What is up, people? What is up? Welcome to episode two. Please subscribe to us. Click that button, and you can visit the website, which is perfectlytwistedpod.com, and across all social media: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, whatever your pleasure. Also, Perfectly Twisted. So let us know you're there.
So Nicole, I tell you what, I'll be transparent. We tried to record a little bit ago, and I screwed up the whole recording. So she's kind of laughing when she said episode 2. That's directed at me. I messed it up, and I can't believe it. Day 2, I messed up. But this was a job that you were the boss, and you kind of are. You could have fired me right now, but you're patient and good sport. So it's always my pleasure to talk to you. But I got to tell the audience, we are so thankful that the first show was embraced, and so many people have been fantastic about loving to hear Nicole talk and tell her story. And I know you aren't one to pat yourself on the back, but you did a fantastic job last week. And I'm so happy that we're going to continue Perfectly Twisted, of course, with Nicole Eggert, because you hit a home run in day 1. You did a fantastic job. I thought it was a lot of fun for the audience and for me as well. So we appreciate the people that were interactive, and we're going to get to obviously letters and questions in the mailbag that we have on the podcast site. Again, it's perfectlytwistedpod.com. You can go right to the mailbag and write questions, and Nicole will answer them on there. We will have those for you today. So Nicole, I know you're new to the podcast world, but how did you think week 1 went for you?
I think, you know what, it was a lot of fun. It was easier than I thought it was going to be. And, I think just from interviewing all these years, being an actress, I think that it's sort of, I don't know, it's kind of like half interview, half conversation with a friend. I think it helps that I know you already. And I don't know, it's fun. I think it's a fun gig. I kind of at first was nervous, like, what do you talk about? You're gonna be so bored of yourself, like, oh, but I think it's really fun, and it makes me think about things I don't normally think about or look back on. So that's a lot of fun. But when I said 2, because it's episode 2.
Yes,
but yes, we
2.
did have a technical.
We did have a
Dave
take 2 in episode 2.
Olaf from Frozen. Because we kept freezing. We had a bad connection. We tried to do this this podcast earlier, and we had a bad connection. But I didn't mean take 2. I meant.
Oh, I thought that was a goof right at me. Right, babe. Which I 100% deserve. That was the old Chuck Woolery thing. Remember?
Yeah, right.
When he used to do the 2 and 2.
Back in 2.
That's it. You know what I love about the first show, and I know we have a ton of stuff to talk about, but I love the fact that the interaction was both male and female. And I always think those are the best shows. For someone who's done talk radio for years, and you find out your audience is 70% male, and you go, that's great, but you wish you had more female audience. And then I've done shows where the majority of the audience are females, and you go, that's great too. But when you can get that 50-50 split in there, and that's what we seem to get in the first show, that was cool. For me, that was cool to see that, people who you're letting into your circle of what it's like to live your life, is you get equal interest on both sides. So it's pretty cool for me.
I love that too. Because I want to hear from the ladies as well. It's so funny because like, I'm super into products.
Yes.
And so is my daughter. My daughter's 11. Okay. And parents, you're lucky you have boys. Parents of girls will know products are very on trend right now. And I fully support it because I think it's very important to have like a skincare, routine early on, and you just get used to doing that and you take care of yourself. I was never really taught that. And so I've created a complete monster. He wants all the high-end everything. And I can no longer purchase high-end stuff for myself because it magically disappears. And so I have been watching, I don't know if you're familiar with Bethany Frankel. Oh yeah.
Yes, of course I am. Of course I am. Yeah. Of course.
So we follow each other on social media, and she does some, she buys stuff in both high end and like the drugstore brand.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to try that. And my kid won't steal it because it's Maybelline. And it's, it's not Drunk Elephant. It's not Dior. So I can, try these things. And So I want the ladies to let me know what theirs is. I just got this new lip gloss, lifter gloss. I don't know if you guys have tried it. Maybelline. It's like under $12. Um, and meanwhile, I went to Sephora and bought Keegan the $50 Dior lip oil. So, but she won't touch this. She won't touch it,
Yeah.
and I love it. I'm a huge lip gloss person, and so I'm
Good.
super picky. But ladies, let me know what you're buying because I can only buy in the drugstore now if I want to keep it.
Yeah. I tell you what, you said something that I find interesting because it's one of those things. I'm a fan of television, and one of the shows you mentioned last week was the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I was kind of late to Mary Tyler Moore. I'll be honest with you, I wasn't watching until she passed away, and they started running reruns, and I'm going, that was a little bit before, kind of before our time, when it ran live. And I'm watching. I'm going, man, this show is written so well, and all the acting is so good,
So good.
and I loved all the stars. And one of the things I do when I watch TV, I'll go to the cast and I'll see when people were born and who's alive. And you realize that most of the people on the Mary Tyler Moore Show were in their 40s, and you're going, they look so old. Everybody though looked older. And like people I looked at when I was a kid and go, man, that guy's old. And then I realized that guy who I thought was old is younger than me, and but
Fact.
you're right. People, you talk about a skincare routine, and males are doing it. Obviously, females are
Yeah.
doing it. Everybody's looking for a way to look healthier, look younger. But we hear about skin cancer stuff we didn't hear about. Our parents didn't talk about when they were growing up, and how important it is to take care of your body from the outside in or inside out.
Oh, listen, my mom like slathered me in baby oil and put me out in my diaper in the sun. Like, you
Wow.
look better tan. It makes you look
Yeah.
healthy. I lost my father to skin cancer. He died. He
Oh my
passed.
goodness.
Yep, from melanoma. It's real. It's real and it's
Yeah.
scary. Scary, scary, scary. So yes, it's come a long way. It's very important. I was very late to the game on like sunblock and skincare, and that's too bad. But better late than never. So I want my kids to start early with it.
Do you
Yeah,
think this is more of a California thing, or do you think this is a nationwide thing? And the reason I say that, it always seems like, I know there are people who don't live in California that will put down, you people from California, you're crazy, But at the same time, like whenever I've literally traveled to the South and ordered a Diet Coke. Oh, you're into health food? They give me a hard time for ordering a Diet Coke, and I'm like, I don't think it's health food, but I'll take the Diet Coke. And so, like the skincare thing, I've noticed some of my friends who live in different parts of the country don't look as youthful as the people who live in California. Like they seem like maybe people in California take care of themselves a little bit better.
well, what's funny is I do think the sun helps with keeping you looking healthy. I mean, vitamin
Yeah,
D is real. Let's be honest. Whenever you have a little bit of color, it does make you look healthier. Um, I don't look good when I'm like pale and wintry, but there's that line of taking it too far. Like when
yeah.
I used to put on baby oil and lay on a silver blanket at the beach, I think it's taking it too far.
Yeah, if you saw that today, if you saw some mom put their kid on a silver blanket with slathered in baby oil, you'd freak out. You'd call CPS.
I
What the hell
mean,
are you
but
doing,
we
lady?
did it. Oh, we
Yeah,
did it. All my Huntington Beach friends, they can vouch for me. And I mean, anything silver, anything reflective. They used to make these like boards that you could like put around you to like,
yeah.
you'd see people doing that. So, there's too much and there's just the right amount, but I do think skincare is really important. I really do.
Good deal. So again, so she invited you right there. So ladies, go ahead and share what products you're using.
And then
Curious to
because
know.
you're right. There
And
are a
men
lot
too.
of men, and there's a lot of guys that have good advice on makeup,
Yeah.
honestly. So yes, let me know. Let me know the good stuff in CVS.
All right. So I got it. Now I'm gonna transition into this question because you just brought up the tanning. I
Okay.
know that you follow Housewives of New Jersey. Okay. I
Yes.
watch it. You watch it. So many people watch. I'm on a group text this morning with a bunch of women in my community. They're sitting, they put me on the group text, which cracks me up. I'm the only guy on it. And the skin color of the people in New Jersey, what is going on in New Jersey? That looks awkward to me.
Okay. Like Doris can get pretty dark, but she pulls it off.
Yeah.
Teresa, is that like? Is she doing that with the sun? and like self tanner because she she is so dark in some at some points. Like they had a Melissa had a roller skating 80s party or
Yep.
something. And I don't know what happened to Teresa. It looks like she was dipped in chocolate and like
Yeah.
not in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and like I think the worst place that gets it is like the hands and the chest. Like and
Yeah.
that chest, it looks like leather and it's just so bad. And I just don't know why so dark. It looks like
It's just
iodine. Like there's like
yeah.
iodine poured all over these people.
It's not a normal color. It
Really
looks like
dark.
the Oompa Loompas from Willy Wonka. It
I
just
mean, yeah,
it's a weird color.
it's even yeah, and Teresa goes even a step farther, like, it's even darker than the Oompa Loompa. It's like,
Yeah.
who ma did you make that color? Because I can't imagine any suntan spray place is gonna offer, or you can go,
Yeah.
it's just yeah, it's really bizarre. It's really too far, too far.
All right, so I got to ask you a little bit about the storyline that's going on. Now, I got to ask you, as a woman, do you see what I see in Louis? And what I mean is, Louis, I don't trust Louis. I look at him like there's something up. The guy's shady as hell. The
Crazy
show
eyes.
is
It's
the
crazy.
crazy eyes going, and I keep thinking it's one of those where he's on in this relationship for either her money or for the fame of the show. There's something not genuine about him. Am I reading it wrong?
100%. And I mean, I'm getting the same vibe. And the thing is that she is so submissive to her men, isn't she? Like she's
Yeah,
so hard ass to everybody else, but for some reason her men can call her names and tell her to shut up and sit down and all of this, and it's wild that she just
it is
obeys.
weird.
And so he has this like hold on her, which is frightening because it seems like she'll go along with whatever he says to do. And then we just found out about Pizzagate, right? So what happened there?
Okay, how
You know,
confused were you when they're telling the story?
right?
I'm going,
Like
wait a second. He
who
wants
stole it?
50% for just the idea, but the other guy threw in 250,000. I was so thrown off on
All
who
of it.
deserved what. It was
Yeah.
confusing.
And you didn't talk about it up front.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just assume things when it comes to business. I mean, you have to have an agreement in place, don't
Yes.
you?
Yes.
And their
Exactly.
stories are always so wildly opposite. And
Yes.
then he's telling Teresa to shut up and be quiet and listen, which I mean, let's be honest, she needs to do. But then he's like, it seems like there's like an underlying motive. I don't know. I
I
don't
agree with
know.
you.
And I
I
just don't
agree
want
with
to
you.
see this end badly for her because she just has like all her faith. Like she just dives into this 150%. And she really needs to be more cautious. But
Do
what are
you
you gonna
find
do?
yourself when you watch, whether it's that show or other shows, that you root against people? Like, I mean, like it's human nature to go, good person, I'm rooting for good people. Bad person, I hope bad things happen. Do you find yourself doing that on these shows?
Well, yes and no, because you kind of watch the show for the villains, right? Like
Yeah.
you kind of watch
True.
them to go, wow, that's fucked up, like, or, you know, wow, somebody really would say that. You watch it for like to know that you're kind of sane. You watch it to go, okay, I'm not that bad. Um, but so you watch it for both, and I don't wish bad on anybody, but there are some people that just push a little too hard, like Lisa Renna, for
Yeah.
instance. I feel like, it's just it gets to a place where it's icky.
Yeah.
Jennifer kind of on New
Trying too
Jersey.
hard.
She's just yeah. I think that, and hers seems to me coming from like a place of pain. I feel like with her, I feel like she's angry and she needs healing, and she's taking it out on everybody around her. And it's sad, but I don't wish bad on any of these people. I really don't. But then I'm kind of one of those people that root for the villain in movies sometimes anyway.
Yeah.
I am, in all honesty. So, like, Pablo Escobar is like one of my idols. I was obsessed with that guy. I watched that
Yeah.
Narcos. I watched his documentary. Like, too much, too much. I love him too much. So that's, I come from that kind of dark sense of humor place where I like the bad guy.
So do you play like I do the whole psychologist thing too, or psychiatrist, depending. I guess when I look at Jennifer and I say, so she obviously never felt comfortable growing up. She married a guy with a lot of money. She's so happy to brag about what she has. This cost this much. This cost that much. Like people I know don't do that. It's always considered bad taste to tell people how much you paid for something, or how much you make, or this and that. And so I find myself kind of rooting against her. But then I realize her life would be crushed without Bill. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, things aren't perfect because the storyline came out a year ago that he had an affair, and now her perfect life wasn't a perfect life.
Well, do we know if they have a prenup or not?
I don't know. That's a great question.
Because
That's a great
that might
question
have a lot to
because
do with it.
yeah, it's a great question because in Miami we see the same kind of situation where you have Lenny, who's kind of does the same job that Bill does, and yet he has a ton of money and nice things and everything else, but he has no problem saying I want the divorce. And then you have Bill, who's like, dude, how many times are you gonna kick him in the nuts and go, hey, I still want you to stay with me? At some point, everybody has a breaking point where Bill goes, you know what, it's not worth it. I'm going another direction.
I mean, he seems miserable. He
Yeah,
seems
he sure does.
completely miserable and unhappy. But he has his pool house, and it seems like that's like his little escape. He's got
It
that
is.
outside house, whereas Lenny is just gross. Like that guy
Yeah.
is just blatantly gross
Yeah.
and sleazy, but I also believe that that's been going on for a while, and she happily turned her cheek,
Yeah.
and just kind of tried to keep that life going. But she's going to be happier without him. She's going to be happier without him. And these women also have to understand that they can stand on their own at this point.
Yeah.
They've got a show, they've got a platform. Run with it.
But again, perfectlytwistedpod.com is the way to go. Of course, you can follow Nicole on social media, and you do a great job with that. I know you're in Facebook jail right now, which is unbelievable that you have a 60-day suspension, which kind of cracks me up that you give an update how many more days you have left. But when time someone gets kicked off social media, it always kind of makes me laugh, because usually people are shocked. Go, that was it? That's the thing that got me kicked off? But it's happened to friends of mine that I didn't think crossed the line. I didn't think you crossed the line, and then Facebook decided, hey, 60 days, you're off, and so it kind of made me laugh. And you asked me a couple weeks ago, do people still use a certain platform? And I was like, yeah, they kind of use that platform. Facebook is one of those where I don't know how many more people are using Facebook the way they used to
I
use
think
Facebook.
I
There's so
think a
many
lot more
people
people are
out there.
using. I think a lot more people are using Facebook than they like to admit.
Yeah.
Because I still get, well, at least I get a lot of usually when I'm not banned, I get a lot of action on there. I get a lot of like interaction with people. But right now, yeah, they bury all my stuff. It's like I can go on and I can post, but they bury it all and it doesn't show up in people's feeds. Like they're so
Yeah.
petty, so petty. And then Twitter, Elon Musk is taking away. This makes no sense to me. This makes absolutely no sense. He's taking away everybody's blue tick marks.
I saw that.
To have one, you have to purchase one, right? That's how.
Yeah.
So now when I go on Twitter, I'm so confused because everybody has a blue check mark.
Do you know how
Because
to check
everybody
it?
just buys
Do you know
one.
how to check to see if it's legit or not legit? Like if you click on that check mark, it will tell you if the person bought it or if
Oh,
they're because
yeah, I'm
if
not.
they're you,
I hate
you
Twitter,
know?
so
Yeah.
I'm barely there. And when I'm
Yeah.
there, it's like quick in and out. But my daughter was funny because she's like, "Oh, then all the celebrities should just be the ones that don't have the blue check mark."
Oh, that's a
So
good point.
everybody has blue except the celebrities.
She's a
There's no
genius.
way
That's
I'm
pretty
paying
smart.
it. There's no way I'm
Yeah.
paying
Yeah.
anything to have a blue check mark next to my name. But I guess Saturday he's taking all the other ones
Yeah.
away. I mean,
Yeah.
ugh,
That is that's
such a
nuts.
gross platform. I hate that platform, but
You know what's interesting about it? Twitter's how I usually get like my sports news. I'll go through Twitter just for sports news feeds. And when you think about the amount of money spent, I mean, everyone's entitled to do what they want with their own money, but what $44 billion, you could have either bought Twitter, or you could have said, I'm going to end world hunger. And
yeah.
I'm going to be known as the guy who ended world hunger. Everyone always talks about it. They say they pray about it, but you could have been that guy. You could have been the guy that everyone in the world thought was one of the greatest human beings of all time. But instead, you bought Twitter and you turned into a complete asshole.
I mean, 100%. And he's not the only one, you know.
Yeah.
Churches do the same thing. There's so many. Yeah. Twitter. Like, who wants to own Twitter?
It's bizarre.
It is.
It's
It's
bizarre.
very bizarre.
It's bizarre. I always think when people run for president of the United States, and it's like somebody at some point in their mind said, "I want to be leader of the free world." Who talks like that? You know what I'm saying? Who are you,
Yeah.
Lex Luthor? Who talks that way? You know, what makes
Yeah.
your brain go, "I want to be leader of the free world"? It sounds so bizarre.
Yeah, I want
You
to be
know.
back.
All right. I do have a social media question for you, though. When people reach out to you and they go, "I found Nicole's Facebook. I found Nicole's Instagram." Do you decide, like, say on Facebook, who you let follow you, or do you keep it to try and keep it to family and friends only? Do you let everybody in? How does it work for you on who you decide you're going to be around on social media?
Well, I have my account on Instagram is open, so anybody can just go follow. And on Facebook, you know, oddly, you're only allowed 10,000 friends, right? So you
Yeah,
can only be friends with 10,000 people, and the rest have to follow. So I leave the follow button open for people so that they
yeah.
can follow. And then, of course, I have the Nicole Eggert page, which I've just started kind of reviving. It had gone dormant for a while, but and anybody can follow there too. And then, you know, if there's anything I want to just post to, you know, private friends and
Yeah.
stuff like that, you can on Facebook, you can choose that, right? So you can pick and choose who you want to share that particular post with. So, you know, I go
It's
back and
interesting.
forth.
One of the reasons, you know, this is embarrassing to say, but one of the reasons I bring this up, you're friends with obviously me on Facebook, and you're friends with a couple friends of mine. And we all say the same thing. When we get a like from you, it makes our day. Like, literally, and it sounds dumb, and you probably don't realize, you know, the effect you have on people. But like, you always see let's say you post something, you know, it's my mom retired today after 50 years of working, and then, you know, you see 180 likes. We all do the same thing. We go to the likes, and then we scroll and we look for your name to see if you liked it, and then we're like,
Oh no.
yeah, it means a lot. I can't tell you though. I know I'm not the only one that does this, and I know
Well,
my buddies aren't the only ones that do it. But people say the same thing. They go, "Hey, Nicole liked it," and it sounds goofy. You probably never thought about it once in your life,
no,
but
but way to
literally,
put the pressure. Way to put the
I'm
pressure on
sorry.
me.
Yeah, now you
Thanks a
got to
lot.
do it to
Thanks.
everybody.
Now I
But
gotta like everything all the time
yeah,
now.
it is. It's one of those things that is so funny that hell, I'm embarrassed I even just told you. But literally, we do the same thing. The friends of mine that you have been nice enough to say you accepted a friend request. When you like it, we all tell each other. We all call or text each other. Hey, do you see that? Nicole
That's
like
so
that.
funny. Oh my
And
God,
so
that's
it
hysterical.
it is. It's kind of funny. But anyway, yeah, it's the social media deal is so crazy now. And you have, as you just mentioned, you have two daughters. One of them is still a minor. How do you let your daughters run about as far as social media? I know the older one you don't have any control, but as far as the younger one, how do you feel about social media? What age is appropriate to say you can get a social media account?
Never.
Yeah, yeah,
No. She does not have it. She's 11. And I don't think she needs it. You know, she does have a TikTok, but she doesn't post her face on her
yeah,
personal account. Um, and I post pictures of her because I'm proud, and you know that's part of
yeah,
my real life, and I want to share that. But I'm in control of that, you know,
yeah,
so it doesn't get to her. I just don't think this whole pressure of likes, you know, how many likes did you get? You know, who
yeah.
liked it? That is such an unnecessary evil, you know, in this world that's already a lot. You know, it's like now you have to worry about how many people liked your
That's
stuff, and
true.
it's like it's funny because you know Facebook, like because I'm banned right now, I don't get very many like if I post something, there's like
Yeah,
barely any interaction with it. There's no traffic on it. And, you know, and it does make you go, huh, wow, you know, like the difference between, you know, getting hundreds and hundreds or thousands of likes compared to getting 40
yeah,
because Facebook is, you know, suppressing you. And it's like, it makes me think like, we're putting our lives out there, and then this other entity that we don't know, we can't speak to, they don't listen to us, they don't care, is in control of it
yeah.
ultimately. they're in control of it. And it's really fucked up if you think about it. Like, it's really just, so I think it's something that you have to be past it and not caring about it. And I just think when they're young like this, you gotta keep them away from it.
I agree. I don't know what the right age is. I know I have nieces who will say, it's a big argument in their house with their mothers saying, I want an Instagram account. Everybody has one. How come I don't have one? It's not fair. Everyone in school, the cool kids have, Instagram. I don't. You're keeping me out from having fun in school. And I don't know the right age. I'll tell you this, for me, as I said, two boys, my youngest son went through major bouts of depression. And when he was before social media, I mean, after social media, sorry, before social media, he was way outgoing. He used to always tell me, man, I got to get out of San Diego. This town's too small for me. I'll be living in LA or New York, a big city where things happen. And he always dropped that line on me. And then all of a sudden he got into Instagram and some of the other platforms, and he couldn't understand how everybody he thought was living a better life than him. And I said,
Wow.
that's not what's going on. But I'd always have the argument, these are people's highlights. People are always going to put themselves in the best light, and he could not separate the two. He went through bouts of depression for about 3 to 4 years, and I would say honestly the social media caused it. He
That's so
couldn't
sad.
comprehend it. Yeah.
That's so sad. I feel like my oldest sort of missed that. Like, it's I don't think she really joined social media till she was already in a good place, like in a
Yeah.
good place. And I don't think she spends a lot of time on it. I think, why I find my kids doing more is scrolling through other people's stuff, but more like comedy stuff and animal stuff, makeup stuff. And I don't feel like they have this like need to want to look like the other people. And I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know if that's just like the way they were raised, or listen, they both happen to be beautiful, so
Yeah.
they're genetically lucky. But I am so thankful that they're not affected like that in that way
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree. I agree. I mean, if I had to do it over again, I think I would have managed it a little bit better. Obviously you don't understand what's going to happen, but would have managed it better. Also, I think a lot of kids don't understand that whatever you put out on social media, it can track you for the rest of your life, whether it's a job, an application to college, anything. And so, once you push send,
yeah, that's it.
it's game on. Yeah. And
That's
so,
it.
you got to be proud of what you do and depend, you never think that far into the future. Also, I don't think people think about, hey, what happens when I become a mom or a dad and my kids one day see the stuff
Oh,
I put out there and then
I
completely embarrassed.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
You
mean,
know?
guilty of that. Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're just thinking about yourself and in the
Yeah.
now, and you don't think about the future like that. But your kids do have to realize that you were young and you were
Yeah.
human, and y- like we all make mistakes, and we all are allowed to live our life. As long as you're not doing it,
To
now.
hurt another person. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not like posting any nudes now. Nobody wants to
Yeah.
see that. So, you know, yeah, that's a tough call. Social media is a funny place, but mostly like my youngest really watches a lot of gymnast stuff because she's a gymnast. So she makeup tutorials and gymnastics is pretty much what she's into. So we're still
Like
in
it.
a
Healthy
good,
kid. That's a
yeah,
healthy kid.
yeah.
Let me ask you, when you were, obviously, your height and things are going well and you're getting recognized like crazy when you're going out and you're having a good time. I mean, you're in your 20s, you deserve a right to have a good time. When you're going out and you're doing your thing and it wasn't like, the cameras now, like everybody has the camera on the phone. Would that have been something that affected your thinking on behavior or worried, or would it have been one of those where, look, I'm just going to live my life and I can't worry about somebody taking a picture of me, in a club after shooting a day at Baywatch?
Yeah. Well, see, there were camcorders. There
That's
were
true.
camcorders back in the day, and there was a guy named Woody, and Woody would be everywhere, and he would be recording everything when you would come out of the club. And the thing about it is there wasn't a platform for it,
Yeah.
so he could record all he wanted, and listen, he was a nice enough guy and it was innocent enough in the day. He just was showing like all the, young Hollywood that was going in and out of the club, and he'd go in one way, he'd come out another way. But there wasn't like such a platform for him to share what he was recording. So yeah, you wanted to be careful because you were being recorded, but then there wasn't TMZ, there wasn't the internet, to like post all these
Yeah.
things and report it. So it was just kind of it was on that uphill swing of like recording. But like especially for the Baywatch documentary we're doing, we got a lot of his stuff and watching a lot of his stuff. And before he passed, he had sent me a bunch of stuff too of like what he had, archives he had of me. And it's just it's wild. It's actually really fun to look back at, and you're like, whoa,
That's
what
cool.
color was my hair? What was that hairdo? What was that outfit? But so it's sort of fun too in a way. But I think that we got away with murder back then,
Yeah.
literally. Like young stars and celebrities today have a whole different beast to navigate through.
How much does a network basically own you, or or a movie studio own you? Meaning, like you're done for the day, you have your own life, but as far as saying, hey, you know what, you're still kind of property of so and so. Don't embarrass the brand. Did you ever get any of that?
A lot of that. I think that it was a much stricter back when I was on, regular, like a series regular, because, we were always told, we were always sat down and you would go through these like courses of what to say, what not to say, how to react, how to answer, especially right before press junkets and things like that. And it always had to be kind. It always had to be nice. You had to be gracious to all your fellow actors, whether you got along or not. And I think that nowadays, uh, they're a lot more lenient in allowing you to be you. But
Yeah.
of course, you have to be a good human. You can't go out and be a total jerk and think that a network's going to still hire you. I think certain places are more strict than others, like Disney, for instance. They're really particular with their kids and the people who they hire and who represents their brand. They're very strict. And there's different levels of it. Obviously, all these cable streaming and networks and stuff, they're much more loose about it. But rip elder people off online for all their money and go to jail, they're going to fire you.
Yeah. Well,
Steal money from airplane
yeah.
victims, they're going to fire you. So there's different levels of it. But yeah, you just have to be a good human. You can't be that controversial. You can't be controversial in like a bad way. It has to be a
Yeah.
fun controversial, which is fair.
Yeah. It is. It is. Yeah, I worked for ESPN for almost 30 years, and so our checks would have basically the logo of Mickey Mouse in the corner.
Uh,
And they used to always tell you, hey, don't forget, before you do something for them, don't forget Mickey Mouse is watching. Like basically, be on your best behavior. And you're right. There's the door, and guess what? That door is pretty big that we've kicked people through if you aren't. So don't do anything stupid. But that was just for a guy like me who was just sports broadcasting. You know what I mean? That's not someone who's obviously had their face on a product and people recognize the second they came out. They just don't. And I understand it. You don't want anything basically hurting the brand, and that's what the brand is.
Absolutely.
I was just curious to know if you ever got it because you were at the height of stardom, and you're sitting there saying, well, you know what, she gets a pass because she is who she is. And so I didn't know if they got on you like they got on a peon like me.
No, I mean, there were things like Baywatch, for instance, in the beginning when we would do press, they would want us to wear the red bathing suit. And I was like, you're
Really?
out of your mind. Yeah, like no way. I'm not doing it. Certain things like that, but they, it's kind of a different beast. But no, I mean, mostly it was like, everything has to look hunky dory. Everything has to look super happy. And that's kind of where it was at when I was on a series.
You just said something I just thought of, the red bathing suit. Like, in golf, you win the Masters, they give you the green jacket, but you make
Yeah.
it to Baywatch and the red bathing suit's famous. When
Yeah.
they gave you the bathing suit and you're part of the show, you talked a little bit about Baywatch in episode 1, but was that like, not only, I'm sure to you maybe not as big of a deal, but was it a big deal to get the red bathing suit to say I'm part of this show, the most popular show in the world?
Well, it wasn't the most popular show in the world yet. Um, we sort of revived it to be the most popular show in the
Yeah.
world. So no, I had no idea what I was getting into. All I thought is, ugh, I hate one-piece bathing suits. In all honesty, it was like, oh, I hate them. Um, and yeah, it was just sort of like annoying to have to wear that bathing suit, to be honest.
Yeah.
But yes, it became iconic and it became cool, but not at first.
Yeah.
Not at
Oh, that's funny. So just curious, were all the bathing suits the same, like for every single actress on the show, or were there certain bathing
At
suits quite
first, they
different?
kind of were at first, and then they
Okay.
started tailoring them
Yeah.
as the show went on. I just wore a regular stock cut.
Yeah. You weren't high maintenance. You just said, just give me what
Yeah,
you got.
give me the damn thing.
That's funny.
And actually, for my first season, I was a lot in the rookie black Speedo bathing suit, which was way more comfortable for me because it was more athletic. Um, those red one piece bathing suits, there was a lot of slips on that because it just kind of went over the shoulder. And anybody who's worn the one piece bathing suit that goes over the shoulder, it just pop right off and everything comes out. So there was that whole factor too with that
Yeah.
bathing suit. So, but a lot of my first season was because I wasn't a lifeguard yet. I was in that black Speedo bathing suit, which was way more comfortable.
That's funny. I never thought about it, but it's like, you always hear about, Fonzie's jacket is in the Smithsonian, the leather jacket. You could see one of the Baywatch bathing suits would be like in the Smithsonian. It's just world
I don't think
famous,
it is. Do you know what? Yeah, there's so funny. There's this store in Burbank called It's a Wrap, and it's like
Yeah.
used clothing from TV shows. And in there is, I believe it's Pamela's bathing suit and jacket, and it's like framed. It's up on the wall. It's all
Oh, there you
faded
go.
in the sun. It's like terrible shape. It's definitely not in the Smithsonian, but I don't know. I don't know if there are multiple ones out there.
All right. Speaking of clothes, I'm curious now. When you work, can you take home anything that you wore in a scene? Are you allowed to keep it?
Usually not.
Not.
Mm-mm.
No. So
No,
if you like,
usually
you
it
wore
has to go
something for a scene and go, man, I really like the way this looks. I'm taking it. Do people steal stuff
back.
and say you know what, I'm taking that back? Or do you have to ask permission? Or you just say, no matter how much I like it, you got to give it back?
Well, it really kind of depends on your relationship with your wardrobe designer because yes, you can borrow stuff and bring it back and it has to be like on the honor system. There sometimes I was allowed to keep some things, but a lot of times, it goes into warehouses, and studios have like these warehouses full of clothes. And so to save on budget, a lot of times the wardrobe people go shopping in there and pull
Yeah.
clothes from in there, especially costumey things. And so it has to go back. And that's just,
Got it.
that's kind of the way it is. But and I'm sure people steal stuff. Absolutely. Yes.
All right. So we said right here, this is going to be interactive, and we're going to take questions through Nicole's mailbag. Again, I'll throw it out there. It's easy. It's perfectly twistedpod.com. You just see where it says mailbag and go ahead and submit your questions. So I have some questions for you. Don't be nervous, right? You aren't going to know what's coming up, but we appreciate the people that jumped in because this was your idea. All right. This first one's from Steve Fessy. It says, what other job, Nicole, would you have liked to have gone into if you didn't go into acting?
Oh, Steve, this is the $1 million question of my entire life. I don't know. I don't know. I started acting at 5 and I just kept acting, and I didn't have a backup plan. And I always wonder, like, where would my, journey have taken me if I wasn't already working as a young child? I don't know. I think law. I do think I
Law.
probably would have been a lawyer. Um, it's interesting. I love the art of an argument. I love the art of a defense. Um, and I think, yeah, I just think it's something I really would have enjoyed.
That's cool. That's
Too
cool. It's
late
funny
now.
how it's never too late. I always think it's interesting how many people their dream was to be an actor. I mean, think how many people do school plays and go, I want to do this the rest of my life. This was
Yeah,
awesome. But there's a school play in every school, and you realize the chances of making money and being successful are very, very slim. It's like being a professional athlete. It's very tough. And a lot of people have the dream, but you lived the dream and didn't even know at the time at 5 years old, this was the dream of so many.
it was. And I never, and this isn't a oh poor me thing. It's just I never got the opportunity to dream to be anything. It's just it was already laid out for me what I was doing and
Yeah.
where I was going, and it was enjoyable and I loved it and I was successful at it, and so it just kept going. There was no question. Um, so oddly, but then I think that a lot of times that's overrated too, because you see people going to college, getting in huge amounts of debt, and spending
Yeah.
all this time at college and then still not knowing what they want to do,
Exactly right.
or realize they look back and realize I spent all those years studying and I don't even want to do that anymore. So, I don't think I missed out on a whole bunch. I'm fine with the way things turned out.
One of the things, and this isn't one of Steve's questions, so one of my questions is you see so many people who went in acting and became famous at an early age, and then they fizzle out. For some reason, it's hard to make the transition from, a child actor to adult actor. And I think maybe because you get typecasted. But for you, you did it. I mean, do you ever think about that? That going, well, I started at 5 and I'm still working. You know what I mean? That you were able to pull it off when you saw so many of your friends or people you knew probably not able to pull it off.
Yeah, I kind of always thought about it like this. I always thought I was on successful shows, but never any show that was so big
Yeah.
that I was pigeonholed into that, or like known so widely for just
Yeah.
that one character. Because people will come to me with TJ Hooker, Who's the Boss, Charles in Charge, Baywatch. They come to me with different shows that they watched. So I think Baywatch was the only one that sort of changed the direction of my career a little bit and scared me, because the same casting directors weren't calling anymore. The headlines were Baywatch bimbos, and then it then graduated to Baywatch babes. Now it's Baywatch icons, but it's taken a long time to get there. So I think that
Yeah.
Baywatch was the only one that had an influence on that. Everything else up until then had been successful, but not this huge hit that like you were strictly known for that. So I
Yeah.
think that sort of played in my favor in my career.
It's funny. I always think of like Gary Coleman, but like let's say Emmanuel Lewis. Let's say he was on Law and Order. You'd go, "Fuck, that's Webster." I'm completely out of the show now. I cannot stop looking at this guy going, "It's Webster."
Right.
As it
Right.
would throw me off as a viewer. If I can fall into a TV show and not think that I'm watching a TV show, they've done a good job. But if it's so, mind-boggling that I can't get Webster out of my head, it's ruined the show for me.
Yeah,
You
well, and
know?
it's hard. I think it's hard when the show was called Webster, right? Was the
Yeah,
show called
that's a
Webster?
good point.
Right?
That's a good point. That's a good point.
And he was the star of it, and it was a huge hit, and it's like you kind of stuck there, right?
Yeah, it's true. That's a really good point. I didn't think about it that way.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Steve has a follow-up question. Of all the films and TV shows which you look back on, which one do you have the greatest pride?
Greatest pride.
Yeah, which one do you
Um,
take most pride in?
well, there's a couple factors in this. So like there's the experience of shooting the project, and that life experience, and then there's the project itself and the finished project, and they can be very different. So you know something that I look back at and it's really fun and light and silly is a Christmas movie I did called Holiday Switch, which was a lot of fun to make. It was easy to make, it was quick, and it was just really lighthearted, but people really love it. They watch it every year, and I look back and it was kind of a defining moment in my life. I was going through a lot, and I took off. I left some things behind and took off and went out to Canada to shoot this. Um, and I loved it. I had a great time. I set myself free from some things, and I love the project. Then you have things like I did Clan of the Cave Bear, which was directed by Michael Chapman, and I had just done Rich and Famous, so I had done George Cukor's last film, been directed by him, which was like
Wow.
game changer, life changing. And then I worked with Michael Chapman. I played Daryl Hannah younger, and we spent months and months in Canada. And my character was the only Cro-Magnon, and everybody else was a Neanderthal. And we went through all this training of what, and they took it very serious. We had to learn another language. It was like this grunting language and sign language, and spending time in caves and in furs and leathers and wearing no shoes and walking in snow and rocks with no shoes on. And there was a huge like training process that went with it. And it was amazing. One of the best times in my life. And there were like amazing actors in that. And to be able to watch them become these characters and how they each had their own, way of getting there. You had like Pamela Reed and James Remar, and who was in it that was amazing is Curtis Armstrong, who later went on to be Booger in do you remember Booger in that movie? Revenge of the Nerds. And I remember being like, yes, because he was such a fun, nice guy. But to be able to watch all these people, transform into their character and how they took it on, it was just really, truly. And Daryl Hannah was just so gracious and amazing.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah. And the project didn't turn out that great. A lot of money was spent, a lot of time went into it, but it was one of the best times of my life. Like, honestly.
What year was that?
That was 1984.
Okay.
I want to say 1984.
So was that before Daryl Hannah did Splash?
It was after.
After Splash.
After she had done Splash. And it took like a year to make the film. And we, it was like we stayed in this ski lodge in Canada and we would take helicopters to locations and go to ice glaciers and, watch the seasons change there and got to go like river rafting on our time off. It just was like,
that's cool.
It was like this amazing, like if you had the best summer camp of your life, like in the world, flying in helicopters and things like that. It was that for me.
That is cool. That is really neat. That
would have to be it. Yeah.
All right, here we go. Tony Nacarado. His question is, what were your favorite movies that you liked in the 80s and 90s and now?
Oh, Tony. It would have to be John Hughes films. Everything John Hughes all the time. 16 Candles was like my coming of age movie. Like that was it. That was, and it takes you back to that time of the 80s, like hearing Madonna and Cyndi Lauper and like Boy George. And it's just something that like it can't be replaced. It's this feeling you get, and it's all the colors and the smells and the good music and all this new, fresh like pop culture. So for me, John Hughes, 16 Candles, hands down. Loved Breakfast Club, loved Pretty in Pink, but 16 Candles was like.
I am with you,
me and my
100%.
Friends, yeah, loved it.
I'm with you.
That song was like my favorite person.
There's so many good characters in that movie, and super famous characters that became famous later on.
Well, and look at Molly Ringwald. Molly Ringwald still working, still killing it, still doing amazing. So.
Oh my gosh. I mean, there's so many lines in that movie. Nicole, I'm embarrassed to say I've seen it more than 100 times. Like I could watch it and I can sit and I've memorized the movie. And I mean, I have a buddy of mine who lives down the street, and every time, I'll go to his house or I'll come to my house, we'll be on the sidewalk talking, and someone gets a little bit loud. We're like, hey, people work in this neighborhood. The whole line where he said, go get the camera so he could take a picture of the girl in the Rolls Royce and make all that noise. What are you doing? People work in this neighborhood. I mean, there's so many lines. We can't even say the word married without saying married again, like long duck dong. When Jake Ryan's trying to figure out, what do you mean married? And he's married, and we anytime since married, we got to repeat it 3 times.
Oh my God.
It is so great. And the funny thing is the Jake Ryan thing cracks me up. There's so many people we know, right, who's either
Oh,
named Jake or Ryan, and they'll say, "Oh, it's from 16 Candles."
yeah, I think there's somebody, I don't know if he's a YouTuber or something. There's somebody called Jake Ryan because my
Yeah,
11-year-old said Jake Ryan. I was like, what? Because as much as I love those movies and watch them, I don't think they're appropriate for her yet. Humor was a little bit more loosey
yeah,
goosey back then, and I'm not ready for her to watch them. But she said Jake Ryan, and I was like, how do you know who Jake Ryan is? And
yeah.
yes, it's always the cute
And
boy.
you know what's funny? That was a PG rating, and there's nudity in that movie. You remember that there's nudity in the shower scene by
But
the
being
Jake
drunk,
Ryan's girlfriend. Remember
yes,
Jake's Ryan's girlfriend in the shower, and they
yes.
talk about, why would you be interested in her? You're with so and so. She's a woman, and boom, they show her in the shower.
I
So they
mean,
wouldn't
and
that wouldn't be a
listen,
PG rating now.
no, and like passed out drunk, right? They're
Yes.
all
Oh yeah. Beer everywhere. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, yeah, there was a lot. There was sex, right? Too, I believe.
Yes.
Not that they necessarily
Well,
showed it, but
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
implied.
Anthony Michael Hall in the Rolls Royce with the
Yes.
birth control pill.
Yeah, I mean, this is so. I'm not ready for her to watch any of that. But I think I was watching it. I
There it
was
is.
watching it at her age for sure. But you know,
All right, got another one for you. This is from Brendan Backos. Hi, Nicole. My question is about the 1996 film. You did The Demolitionist. Do you recall how many weeks you worked on the film? What type of hours you were working per day? You did a great acting job in this one, Nicole. Did you have much to say in your performance?
okay, well, I find this ironic because I just got an invite in my DM from Donald Borchers, who was a producer on The Demolitionist. And April 1st, they are having a YouTube viewing watching show. And I guess some of the cast is going to be there. I was invited to be there, and they're going to have like a chat room open with Q&A and like some reminiscing while you view The Demolitionist. I think it's on Robert Kurtzman's YouTube channel, but I will post a link. You
Cool.
might have to look for me on social media because I'm banned, but I will post it somewhere. I will post it. It's 10 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Pacific time, and I guess it'll be live. So that's wild, completely
Cool.
coincidental. But it was a cool movie. Robert Kurtzman is a really amazing special effects artist, and so it was his vision. So to be able to work alongside these guys and see what they do and how well they do it, from motorcycles to the guns they made to just the prosthetics and my outfit that I wore. And I mean, it was hard. It was my first action thing. I could have done, I wish I had more time to have trained for it and stuff like that. But what a blast. What a blast.
Yeah.
What a treat to get to see these guys do their thing. I had a motorcycle in one of them, and the motorcycle rode on its side. So like they rigged it and so that like
Yeah.
I could ride it and it looked like I was sliding so I could be shooting. I mean, just the coolest stuff.
Wow.
So yeah,
Can
really,
you
really
drive a
fun.
motorcycle? Can you ride a motorcycle?
I mean, I could. I don't think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I just didn't know if you could. It's just one thing about Nicole, kind of curious about.
I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, I can't. A smaller one would be better. They're
Yeah.
heavy. They're heavy.
Yeah, they
And
are
I'm
heavy.
trained,
Yeah.
so that's kind of dangerous.
Oh, that is funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right, here we go. Last one for you. It's from Caitlin Ramsey. I know you mentioned you love being in the water. So while filming Baywatch, did everything come natural?
Oh, well, I mean, it gave me an advantage because I was comfortable in the water. So I did have that. A lot of the people, surprisingly, weren't necessarily water people. A lot were, but a lot weren't. So I had that going, but it was, it was a whole nother level. It's during the winter. It's freezing. You don't get to just get out of the water. This isn't like, oh, dive in, swim around, and get out when you feel like it. This is you're in the water.
Yeah.
You're cold. The Santa Monica Bay can be really dirty. It can be really gross. And it was a challenge. It was definitely a challenge. So yes, I'm glad I was, familiar in the water. The stuff that I found really fun was like tank work, like underwater sets are really fun.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah, really cool. Really scary because there's big there's a lot of wattage in there. There's
Oh,
a lot of lights, and you're like, oh my god, stay away from that light. Don't kick that light. Um, so it's a little bit scary like that, but so fun to be like in a clean water tank with a set and like caves and all that stuff. Total kid and candy store.
real quick for the people who don't understand, I'll be honest with you, I never thought about it one time till you just said it. The underwater tanks, like I imagine, I mean, hell, I guess I was thinking the same thing, that everything was filmed in the ocean. So they're this like the scene I'm thinking of is the very beginning of the show where Pam Anderson's credit comes up and she's swimming. That's in
Oh,
an
underwater
underwater tank, huh? That's an
tank.
underwater tank. Okay.
Yeah.
How often do you get to go in the tank compared to the ocean? Because I imagine the tank, the weather, I mean, the water is warmer,
Yeah, it's
right?
warmer. You're inside, right? It's
Yeah.
definitely controlled climate, but not that much, not as much as I would have liked. They did shoot a lot in the ocean. A lot of it is genuinely the ocean. Mostly it was in the tank when they needed clear underwater shots. So when it
Yeah.
looks really clear and super clean, that's
Yeah.
that's a tank.
That's an underwater tank. Do you ever do anything in Baywatch where you have to do the scene, you know what you're about to do, and whatever it is, and you just go, "What the hell?" Like you're like, "Whose idea? Whose idea was this?"
Yes.
And then you go, "We're pulling this off," or did you just go, "Hey, man, it's just a job," and whatever. Someone's buying, someone's on the edge of their seat at home, biting their fingernails, going, "Man, I hope they're gonna make it." Like, or did you just go, "Some of this is ridiculous."
I think everybody made it on Baywatch, right?
Yeah,
We
they
saved
made
them
it.
all.
You saved a lot of people. You did a good job.
I remember the very first day on set, we my character was trying out to be a lifeguard. And so, you know, it was all of these races where you racing and you have to dive in the water, you have to run down the pier, jump off the pier, swim around it. When they were and they put you with like real lifeguards and
Yeah.
real athletes, and you're trying to keep up. And the first day I'm like throwing up from swallowing all the Santa Monica Bay. And I called my manager. I was like, there's been a terrible mistake. There's, horrible misunderstanding. This is not what I signed up for. And don't worry. We're going to do the spinoff. So at first it was, yes, first day I was like, this is terrible. I'm like, I'm working out. I'm physically really, truly working out, and I'd never worked out. It was not my thing. I was 19. And then there were days like it was after a storm. I remember a really heavy storm, and there was just debris all over all the beaches, that surfaces after heavy rains. And we were in a helicopter just trying to find a patch of beach that was clear. And they said, "Oh, there's a spot. There's a refrigerator, but we'll frame the refrigerator out." Okay. So we get down there, and I'm, it's me diving into the water, get out, keep diving into the water, take after take, and I'm like, there is something in the water. There's something in there, and towards the end, it just kept getting closer and closer, and it was like turning in the wave. And is it a rug? I don't know, what is it, and it flips over and it's a guy. It's a dead body.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so it's
Oh my
like,
God.
these are the moments that I'm like, where the hell am I? Yeah. Mom, get me out of here. Come pick me up. So there were those moments of like, what?
So what happens then? Do you guys immediately have to stop shooting and call LAPD? And I mean, what happens?
Wait for the coroner to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the body like slowly beached itself. Because like I said, it kept coming forward, it kept rolling in with the waves. And then, and my makeup artist is like, let's go look. Cause it's like,
let's go look.
Because for her,
I gotta fire my agent, then I'll go look. How's that?
It's like homework, it's like it's study for her to see, the actual dead body, and the fishes have been eating at it, and it's bloated like 3 times its size. And then we waited for the coroner to come, and then had to go back to shooting. So
oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Weird days.
There we go. Oh my gosh. Yeah. All right, we'll end with that. We went 15 minutes longer than we planned on.
On that note.
Holy cow. Yeah, on that note, there you go. There's something you don't hear every day. Wow, that is something else. Gross. Nicole, I appreciate it. We got episode 2 done kind of twice, but we got it done. It was a completely different show than what we worked on at the beginning. But so this was entertaining. I always have a ton of stuff to ask you. Again, I know the audience appreciates it. I appreciate it, but you're letting people inside the circle of what it's like to kind of grow up in Hollywood and how things are going. So this has been a lot of fun. Can't wait to hear what you're going to say next week.
Oh, I love it. Well, keep the questions coming, guys, and definitely subscribe. Visit the website, perfectlytwistedpod.com, across all social media, Perfectly Twisted. And we'll have updates. Love to hear your guys' thoughts, questions, all of it. Who do you want to see on the show? Who would be a good guest? I'm interested to see what people think about that. And yeah, all your thoughts and any lip gloss tips. I mean, I am fully
Perfect.
invested.
Perfect. Thank you, Nicole. See you next week.
See you next week, guys. Bye.